Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. Look, man, Tim Tszyu is cognizant that after that his meeting with this guy Joey Spencer is do or die. So the question is Tim Tszyu still an elite fighter? Which I felt he proved himself to be elite, starting with that fight with Tony Harrison, and then his subsequent fights right up until Fundora showed that he was a special fighter. But that being said, Fundora and Murtazaliev, some bad things happened in that fight for Tim Tszyu, in those fights. So for him to return this weekend, I guess we're going to find out if those were just hiccups and if he's still an elite fighter. Some people are saying Tim Tszyu probably never was and just got exposed. I don't think I agree with that. And not because I'm always out here chanting Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Everyone knows that I like Tim Tszyu. But I got to be real about Tim Tszyu, man. It just looks like he had a tough time. But I think all fighters at some point in time go through kind of like what Tim Tszyu's going through, where they feel like they're in these do or die type propositions. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad he's confronting that, head on. And I'm glad he picked a fighter that isn't ranked in the top 10. He picked somebody who's there's slight name recognition there, who definitely has a pulse and is coming to win. But Tim Tszyu should be able to get the victory. And then after that, look at maybe going back and doing a rematch with Murtazaliev, maybe trying to get a rematch with Fundora, which to me is the logical choice. Or maybe fight a Keith Thurman, which I think is probably a better fight than going after Fundora right now. But look, Tim Tszyu was left bloody, man. He was left bruised, okay? He was left heartbroken. And I definitely feel that the way he was beaten, he was unable to be at peace. And I think a pound of flesh was taken out of Tim Tszyu. But I want to see where he's at mentally. When he gets in that ring with Spencer, Spencer's going to fight him. And when Tim Tszyu gets hit, we saw when he was fighting Murtazaliev, he got, I think it was a little hit on top of the head, or maybe it was a headbutt. Something happened. I think it was like early in the fight. And he had his glove and he was kind of brushing at his hair, worried that the cut has reopened. I wonder if he's gotten over that. In addition, I actually wonder, when had that cut fully healed when he went into that Murtazaliev fight, because it almost didn't make sense to me to see him get touched in that area where the cut was, and then to immediately go and start to kind of probe at it. You had fighters who get cuts in training camp and stuff in the eye or whatever, and when they get hit in those spots, they don't take the glove and start pawing at it. They don't do that. So it makes me wonder if maybe there was still a little bit of softness there that Tim and his team knew, but the doctor didn't catch. And as a result, Tim couldn't be as comfortable in the ring as he wanted. That's why he had his foot on the gas from the first round, just going all out, concerned that maybe by round 4 or 5 or 6, something happens, that cut reopens and the fight gets stopped. I don't know. It's just having a conversation. But I like when he comes out and he says, look, it's sink or swim. And I'm from Australia and I can swim. So we're going to see if Tim Tszyu is going to be able to swim this weekend against Spence. But hey, it's crunch time. And I don't know if his dad's in his training camp this time, but I know that when he and his dad were working together, you saw a different motivation in Tim Tszyu. But nonetheless, this weekend, I like the fact that he's saying he wants to come back stronger, he's hungrier than ever, and he has a prove a point. And he's right, he has a prove a point. Moreover, Tim Tszyu has to make a statement. Now, you sit here, right? Keith Thurman, he's trying to make some money. The money's out there in Australia. The money's in Australia. You got to go fight Tim in Australia. There'll be some millions on the table. But in a way, Keith Thurman is he's almost the A side. I know Keith has been gone for a while, but he came back. He did the business in Australia. He still has a big name. He's still the guy who's a former unified champion, at 147. I just, when you look at it, Keith Thurman is still the A side. But he's not necessarily the money man in this fight. Tim Tszyu is. So I don't know how they're going to work out the numbers, but I know that this is the direction they want to take Tim Tszyu. Is definitely get him back to fighting against the champions, but Keith Thurman next, and then hopefully that will springboard him back into title contention. We'll see if he can walk through that fire, because he's saying that's what he wants to do. Walk through fire to get back on the top. This is what I live for. I'm Tszyu son. And I hope so, because from a little kid up until the point where he fought Fundora, man, it just seemed like everything had been working out for him. I think throughout his whole life, I think seemingly, Dad was a big-time boxer, financially well off. Tim Tszyu didn't struggle, at least from everything I've read, it didn't seem like he struggled as a child. But, man, he lost it all in the blink of an eye, man. Lost it all in the blink of an eye. And he just hasn't been able to bounce back. And I'm not hearing much about his training. I'm not hearing much about his camp. But from what I'm hearing from him is just that he understands what he has to do. My thing is, can he do it? Can he rebound? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. He tried to rebound after Fundora against Murtazaliev, and that didn't go his way. Now that he's taking some damage from Fundora, damage from Murtazaliev, can he rebound against a guy like Spencer? He should, but you just never know. The best fighter doesn't always win. It's the boxer who fights the best. Does Spencer have a Buster Douglas type fight in him, where he can come out here and shock the world and clip Tim Tszyu? I don't know. We've seen it happen before. But what's crazy to me is Tim Tszyu has fought a few big names. And the thing about it is, the biggest fight of his career is probably the fight he's going to be running into this weekend when he faces off against Joey Spencer, man. No doubt about it. This is really do or die for Tim. He's out there in Australia. If he doesn't beat Spencer, there's no more coming to the United States and fighting. He's going to have to go and probably rebuild out there in Australia. But as long as Tim Tszyu is fighting, he's kind of like, what's his name? Anthony Joshua, the Tyson Furies. As long as those guys are fighting, they're going to get the support from the UK. Tim Tszyu is always fighting, going to get support from Australia. If Manny Pacquiao came out, the Philippines are going to support him. You know what I'm saying? Tim just happens to be in a good situation where in his country, they love him, they love his father and his brother too. His brother Nikita gets busy. And they're going to support him. But he doesn't just want people coming up basically pity partying him and coming to his fights just because of his name. And no, Chisora is a good example of somebody who, win, lose, or draw, he's going to get supported. But Tim Tszyu doesn't want to be a Chisora with a bunch of losses, and just because he puts up a good fight, people come to see him. No, he wants to be a champion. He wants people to come see him as a champion, fight and win and represent his last name, but also Australian boxing. That's what he wants. But let's be real, man. 154 pounds is probably the best division right now. Look at some of them names. He got some killers at 154. Tim was one. He's not anymore, but he can get back. All it takes is, just like in the blink of an eye, you can lose everything. In the blink of an eye, you can get it all back. And it starts with Joey Spencer. And I'm going to tell you, looking at Joey Spencer, he looks a little older. Body looks a little bit soft. I don't know what all Joey Spencer's been doing the last couple of years, but what I will tell you is he's going in there and he's poked the bear. And hopefully he understands what he's getting himself into, because Tim Tszyu ain't coming to lay down. And Tim Tszyu can crack, and he's got a monster right hand. And I hope Joey Spencer is prepared for that. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Everybody talking about how Joey Spencer is a dangerous proposition. I think anybody who has their back against the wall, it could be a dangerous proposition for any fighter. But what I will tell you is this, man. As far as getting to the next level, I don't know what's going to happen, but if one of them whoever loses, they're not going to get to that next level. It'll take a long time to get back. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Tim Tszyu, is he still an elite fighter? This fight this weekend will tell us a little bit, but I still think he has to get past a guy like Thurman and get back into with some of those guys at the top level, those champions, and get a win before we can really give him the stamp as being an elite fighter again in the breeze.